Hello ladies and gentlemen, what have I got for you today? Well, it's a dash cam, and of course it's a very cheap dash cam, the cheapest I could find on eBay a few months ago. It's the hot black 2.5-inch full HD 1080p dash cam with a few other bits added on the end. Put the listing on screen so you can see it. Like I say, when I got it, it was the cheapest I could find. It was $7. They're still on eBay and they're retailing from about $8 up to about $15. I actually bought it without a battery. I was taking a chance because it didn't actually describe what battery it would take. It turns out it takes a BL5C battery, which is the sort of battery that was in a lot of Nokia phones back in the late noughties before Nokia crashed and burned. So yeah, so it's a BL5C, which you should be able to find again also on eBay for, well, next to nothing really in this day and age. You probably pay about $1 for one of those batteries. So let's have a look at it. Before I continue, it did actually come with a mount, and it did actually come with a cigarette lighter adapter and USB cable to plug it in. The first thing you'll notice about it is the shape. It's a bit unusual as dash cams go. Most dash cams are flat like that, so you got the lens sticking out here and the screen is on here. This is kind of shaped like, oh, Star Trek communicator, or is it the phaser? I don't know. I never watched Star Trek. I was never into science fiction and stuff like that. I never quite understood that whole Millennium Falcon thing and Captain Kirk. So so it's an unusual shape. Bit awkward to fit in the car in that it, no matter where you put it, it's kind of in the way. It's not like a nice flat dash cam that just sits against the window nice and neat. This kind of hangs awkwardly like that there, like a bit of awkward car windscreen jewelry. So, but once you get it in position, it works. And I found that the best place to put it was directly, well, at the as far down the windscreen as possible in the middle. On the front, it has these IR LEDs, which seem to serve no purpose whatsoever. There is no night vision option with this, and even if they did light up, it would be useless inside a car because they would reflect off the windscreen and wash out the image. So I'm not quite sure what they're for, but they don't seem to work, and there doesn't seem to be any option to switch them on. Around the side we have the USB socket, and it uses mini USB as opposed to micro USB, something worth bearing in mind. It does have this rather awkward cover, which I don't quite understand. It just makes the thing a bit more awkward to use and hide. And on the other side, SD card slots. As far as I understand, it won't go above, it won't take SDHC cards, so you're limited it to 32 gigs. Hold on. Or is it 8 gigs? Can't remember. Anyway, I'm using an 8 gig SD card and it's worked fine. There is an external microphone socket, which again, not quite sure why that's there, but it's if you need it, it's there. I haven't tested it out. Power button and record button, and of course, like how like all dash cams work, as soon as you switch it on, it starts recording, assuming there's a card inside. So I've zoomed in a bit and I've put an SD card in, so let's have a look at it in operation. Motorcycles, because of course this would be totally suitable for a motorcycle. It gets soaking wet and be destroyed, but anyway. Mode. There are 3 modes on this. There is video mode, which is indicated by the old Cinefilm camera there. Photo mode, which is indicated by A for some reason. And in photo mode, you just press that button to take a picture. And that's it. Doesn't do anything else. And there is playback mode, which plays back the last thing you, lets you see the last thing you take. In this case, it's a photograph, and if I go down, eventually I'll get to some videos, which I will show you later. Exit out of that mode, go back to the video mode, and let's have a look at the setup. There are 2 menus, video output and setup. Size chooses the size of the video, so you press this button to select. You have a choice between full UHD. I don't think they're referring to Ultra HD, but it is 1920 by 1080. HD, which is 1280 by 720, and VGA 640 by 480. Again, there's something not quite right about that, and I'll come to it later on when I demonstrate the video. So, menu to get out. You can choose your timestamp while you want it on or off. Oh. Motion detection is probably the most fancy feature this thing has. So the idea being that if you get switched, you can have it left switched on, and if anyone walks past your car when the car's not moving, it'll start capturing video. It doesn't work. I've tried, had to fiddle around with it. It doesn't work. So I'm not going to go into any more detail. Video time is 3 minutes. So every video file it creates will be 3 minutes long. Voice recording is basically, does it record audio as well? The audio quality is pretty bad. It would be usable in evidence, but it's not pleasant to listen to. It sounds like someone's crackling plastic bags next to the microphone. And then onto the next menu, which is the format. And if you press the next menu, it formats the SD card. Simple enough. Language is English and whatever. Oh, sorry. Instinctively you want to press that to select stuff, but it's not. It's that you have to press. So it's various. It's English and French, German, Italian, a few others. LED auto off will, if it's set to on, it'll switch the LED off after a while. Auto off is 3 minutes, so that means after the power is disconnected from the cigarette lighter or the USB, how long should it run on before it switches off, which is handy if you have an accident and you lose power. And system reset, which I'm not going to put. Oh. Okay, basically takes everything back to the basics. If I go into the camera mode, yeah, I can choose the size of the image and the quality. Sorry. And do all the format stuff as well. The main difference is it also lets you choose ISO, exposure compensation, and a few others. But to be honest with you, the quality is not that great. Like for example, for size, I've got between 3 megapixels and VGA. I'm assuming there's going to be a lot of interpolation here. And down quality. Oh. Fine, standard, economy. Oh, so it's fairly basic settings, but they really mean nothing because the quality of pictures it captures aren't that great anyway. Now, in use, how does it work? Well, as long as you've got it plugged into the USB, plugged into a power source, be it from your cigarette lighter socket or from a power bank or wherever, it'll start recording as soon as it switches on, and it'll keep recording until the power is cut off and the timeout setting, which is 3 minutes, elapses. It uses rolling record, so once the card is filled up, it'll start overwriting the original files. There is a slight overlap between files. I think it's 1 or 2 seconds. So, okay, enough with this. Let's go and actually have a look at the quality of the video that comes out of it. So let's have a look at the first video setting, which is 640 by 480, which is VGA. Let's start off with some rainy weather, just to sort of see how it handles a movement and droplets in the windscreen wipers. As you can see, it's a bit blurry, can't make out the detail on street signs and direction signs, and but that being said, the motion is pretty smooth. You can see the bigger signs or the more clear signs, but like I say, there's better dash cams out there, but no, for the price, it's not terrible. And like I said, even allowing for the washed out colours and the lack of clarity, it's not too bad actually. And now we move on to the M50. This was taken slightly later in the day, starting to get dusk. Again, can't see the signs. Car's moving a lot faster. It'd probably be moving about 100 kilometers per hour at this point. It seems to have this slight jerkiness to the video, so it seems that at higher speeds the video encoder starts to struggle. Officially, it uses motion JPEG at 30 frames per second. It's not coming out at 30 frames per second. It's probably more like 15 to 20 frames per second, as you can see here. Hence the sort of jerkiness, which is unfortunate. But that being said, you can still see what the cars are doing, even if you can't make out number plates. And also, the lights are sort of overwhelming the sensor slightly. So at night time, this camera is pretty much useless. And finally, I thought I'd show you some video from a full HD resolution, which is 1080p, or so it claims. It clearly looks interpolated to me. I think this camera may have a 640 by 480 sensor, and the 720 and the 1080 resolutions are just stretched or cropped versions of that. If you look at the timestamp, it looks a bit more blocky, like as if it's been expanded. And also, there's a graininess to the image. And if you notice, there's a shop on the left that's called Argus Jewelers, but you notice the lettering is kind of flickering, which again makes me think that the interpolation and encoding algorithms in this camera are struggling to do their job properly. The lights are washing out the sensor. You can't make out fine details such as number plates or printed text, but again, it's pretty smooth. Like, look at the motorcyclists; they're not jerky. But like, you still can't make out number plates, which is unfortunate. So I do strongly suspect the manufacturers have taken some liberties with the specifications, maybe over exaggerated, not slightly, but a lotly. And in case you're wondering, this is the Sundrive Road, Kimmage Road junction. There's a rather good branch of Super Value up there on the left. They do pour your own beer. So if you bring a bottle along, fill it with beer from their taps and take it home. It's quite nice. Good cheese counter as well. Oh, bus. Yeah, it's not a bad area. I like it. So, what do I think? It's actually not bad. It's better than I expected for $7. Like I say, the video is smooth, not very sharp. Definitely has some compression and interpolation artifacts. But if you wanted a cheap dash cam and you were involved in an accident and you had the dash cam and the other person didn't, then this would be good evidence to have. And in a lot of cases, simply having a dash cam, even if it's not plugged in or working, is enough to sort of like stop people playing games if they are at fault. Because a lot of the time, if someone causes an accident, they're immediately going to deny responsibility, but the presence of a camera might make them go, should I do that? Because they certainly don't want to get caught lying to the police, or the guards as we call them here. So, all in all, I'll say if you want a cheap dash cam and you're desperate and you don't want to spend 50 quid on a decent one from Halfords or wherever, it'll do the job. It'll perfectly fine during the daytime if you're willing to accept, a bit of fuzziness on the images. Nighttime, it's not going to work unless you're in a well-lit area. So, not rubbish, but not brilliant. Cheerio, take care, bye-bye.